Welcome to Design of Machine Element 2, Module 4. In that last topic, we are in last topic, that is one of the important concept, that is design of brakes. Here we need to study about types of brakes. In that mainly two types of mechanical brake we have to study. One is block and band brakes. Then we need to know about self-locking of brakes, and we need to know about concept of heat generation in brake. So this is the last topic in that module, that is design of brakes. So coming to the definition of brakes, all of you know why brake is essential in our day-to-day life. The brake is defined as the machine element or mechanical device. So brake is nothing but one of the machine element or machine member or mechanical device which is used to absorb the energy possessed by a moving system or mechanism by means of friction. So what brake will do? So brake is nothing but machine element used to control the motion by absorbing kinetic energy of a moving body or by absorbing potential energy of the object being lowered by hoist or elevators. So there will be two types of energy associated with the brake. One is kinetic energy and potential energy. Most of the cases can whatever the brakes that will absorb kinetic energy in a few places, such as in elevators, hoist. So whatever the energy absorbed, that is potential energy of the object. So this is the main function of brake. So whatever what brake will do, the absorbed energy appears as a heat energy which should be transferred to cooling fluid such as water or surrounding air. So brake is nothing but one of the important element in the automobile sector or any mechanical applications, so which is used to absorb the energy possessed by a moving system or mechanism by means of friction. The main purpose of the brake is to slow down or completely stop the motion of a moving system, whatever the moving system may be, rotating drum or machine or vehicle. So brake will do always, it will stop or it will slow down the motion of a moving system. So it also used to hold the parts of the system in position at rest. You know what is the function of automobile brake. So automobile brake is used to either to reduce the speed of the car or bring it to rest. Similarly, it may be used whenever downhill road, so car or vehicle should stop. So for that purpose also we are using this type of device. This device is nothing but mechanical device. So we have to design this, how to design for particular application, and what are the concept we should know in order to design this brake. So what will happen, the whatever the main principle behind a brake is, whatever the energy absorbed by brake, so there will be two form of energy, either it may be kinetic or potential energy, or in some of the cases both energy. So in most of the automobile application, the brake will absorb kinetic energy of the moving vehicle. Similarly, in some of the applications such as hoist, elevator, the brake will absorb the potential energy released by the object during the braking period. So that is the two types of energy absorption. The energy absorbed by the brake is converted into heat energy and dissipated to the surrounding. So energy neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be converted from one form to another form. So based on this principle, the whatever the energy absorbed, so that energy is going to convert with into heat energy, so that heat energy is dissipated to surrounding. So we have to know about what are the thermal consideration, that is what is the heat dissipation in the brake, so that also important. Now coming to the types of brake, there are three important types of brake. One is hydraulic brake, electrical brakes, and mechanical brakes. So already we studied about clutches. In that also we have different types of clutches based on different working principle. Here also we have hydraulic brakes, electric brakes, and mechanical brakes. So coming to the first one, hydraulic brakes are also there will be pneumatic brakes. Hydraulic and pneumatic brakes both are similar, only change in the working fluid. So here the working is completely based on fluid pressure, such as oil pressure or air pressure. So whatever the working principle behind here is, whatever the brake, so that is operated by fluid pressure, such as oil pressure or air pressure. So coming to the electric brakes, so electric brakes which are operated by magnetic forces, and which include magnetic particle brakes or hysteresis brake and eddy current brakes. So different types of brakes are there with respect to electric. And coming to the last one, that is mechanical brakes, so which are operated by mechanical means such as levers, spring, and pedals. So depending on the shape of the friction material, the mechanical brakes are classified, you know already. So one of the important two types of important brakes, that is block brakes and band brakes, that is there in your syllabus, that we have to discuss. Similarly we have disc brake and shoe brake. So these are the different types of mechanical brakes. So brakes are classified into again two groups according to the direction of whatever the force, that is actuating force. So based on this force, again you can classify as radial brakes and axial brakes. So whatever the disc brakes usually are of axial brakes. The external and internal shoe brakes are radial brakes. So we will see in detail different types of brakes. So one such brake is called band brake. So this is the construction of a simple band brake. It consists of a flexible strip, so lined with the friction material, which is pressed against the rotating drum. So when one end of the steel band passes through the fulcrum of the actuating lever, so whatever the brake, we call it as a simple band brake. So you can see here the one of the important equation what we used in the design of belt drive. Same equation here also you have to use, because almost whatever the construction of the band brake is similar to the whatever the rope drive or belt drive. So you can see here, this is the it's nothing but band brake. So there will be different rotation of the drum. This is called drum, and this is nothing but flexible steel strip lined with the friction material, so which is pressed against the rotating brake drum. So when one end of the steel band passes through the fulcrum of the actuating lever, the brake is called simple band brake. Similarly, the working of the steel band is similar to that of a flat belt operating at zero velocity. So this is the free body diagram you can see here. So in your data handbook we have a lot of sketches for different types of band brakes and differential band brakes. for different rotation of the brake drum. Either it may be clockwise rotation or anti-clockwise rotation. So there will be two important types of brake. One is simple band brake and differential band brake. So you can use data handbook from 267 onwards, and the most of the band brake you can find in your data handbook from page number 270 for different configuration. So based on that we have to find out what is the force, that is actuating force. We have to find out operating force and braking force and all you have to find out. So design means you need to find out all the dimensions of band brake. So what are the tensions, then what are the length of the lever, then what is the angle of contact. So everything you need to find out, so that we'll discuss while solving the problem. So this is about a band brake, so one of the important type of brake. So this is nothing but a pivot point. The O is nothing but pivot point. And see here, you can, this is nothing but a shaft. So this is nothing but brake drum. So this is called band. So that's why it is called band brake. One more type of brake, that is called block brake. Also we call it as shoe brake. So block brake and shoe brakes are same. So a block brake consists of a simple block which is pressed against rotating drum by means of a lever. The friction between the block and brake drum causes the retardation of the drum. So this type of brake is commonly employed in railway trains. The block either rigidly attached to the lever or in some application pivoted to the lever. So the angle of contact between the block and brake drum is usually small. So when it is less than 45 degree, the intensity of the pressure between the block and brake drum is uniform. So you can see here now, this is the nature of the block brake, or also called as shoe brake. So this is nothing but shoe here, and this is the operating force. So if we apply operating force, the whatever the motion, so that will be reduced. So this is the in your data book you can find different types of block brake. Either it may be single or double block brake. So double means it has both side shoe. Here you can see only one side shoe, and there will be a rotating wheel. So this is nothing but free body diagram for different rotation, for clockwise rotation of brake wheel and anti-clockwise rotation of brake wheel. So you can find different types of block brake in your data handbook, page number 267. Then coming to the next topic, that is self-locking of brakes. If no force is required for braking action, then we call it as such type of brake, we call it as self-locking brake. This is not a desirable condition in normal application. Some positive braking effort should be required to apply the brakes, otherwise brake will be out of control of the operator. So this is about concept of self-locking brake. If no external force is required for the braking action, then such type of brakes we call it as self-locking of brakes. So now coming to the next topic, that is heat generation in brakes. The energy absorbed by the brake is converted into heat, so which increases the temperature at the rubbing surface, so whatever the energy absorbed by the brake, so that is always converted into another form of energy, that is nothing but heat, so which increases always temperature at the rubbing surface. When the temperature increase, what will happen? The coefficient of friction decrease adversely affect the torque capacity of the brake. So at high temperature, so there will be a rapid wear of the friction lining, so which reduces the life of the lining, friction lining. Therefore the temperature rise should be kept within permissible range. So that is the main concept of heat generation in brakes. So this is almost with respect to thermal consideration. The design is based on heat generation also, design of brakes based on heat generation. So these are the some of the important topics, and you have problems only on two types of brakes, because in your syllabus you are not going to study one more type of brake, that is disc brake. Here we have to study only two important type of brake, that is band brake, or another one is block brake, block or shoe brake. Another one is band brake. So we'll solve some of the problem now. First problem, a simple band brake of drum diameter 600 mm has a band passing over it with an angle of contact 225 degree. While one end is connected to the fulcrum, other end is connected to the brake lever at a distance 400 mm from the fulcrum. The brake lever is 1 meter long. The brake is to absorb power of 15 kilowatt at 720 rpm. Design the brake lever of a rectangular cross section. Assuming depth is thrice the width, take allowable stress as 80 megapascal. So this is the problem of band brake, simple band brake. All the constructions of band brake is given, that is diameter of the brake drum, then whatever the angle of contact, then they have given the whatever the distance from the fulcrum connected to the fulcrum, other end is connected to the brake lever at a distance 400 millimeter from the fulcrum. So all the distance and all given. The brake lever is length of the lever also given, 1 meter long, and brake is absorb a power of 15 kilowatt at 720 rpm. So now we have to design the brake lever. The lever of the cross section of the lever is given here, that is rectangular cross section. Assuming the depth is thrice the width, this is the condition. Depth of that cross section is equal to thrice the 3 times width, and you have to take allowable stress in that material as 80 megapascal. This is nothing but design stress. Given the P equal to 15 kilowatt power, N is 720 rpm, D is nothing but a brake drum diameter 600 millimeter, mu coefficient of friction, that is 0.3, and theta is equal to 225 degree, B equal to 400 millimeter, and A equal to 1000 millimeter, sigma B equal to 80 megapascal. Now you can see, first you need to find out torque transmitted, so that is with the help of power and rpm. The equation is T equal to 9.55 into 10 to the power 6 p kilowatt divided by n. So torque will be 198.96 into 10 to the power 3 Newton millimeter. Now you have to look at the one of the important diagram. So that is you will get from page number 268. So you can find what are the construction feature of simple band brake. So from equation number 13.18a, so there will be the ratio of tensions, that is F1 by F2. F1 is nothing but tight side tension, F2 is nothing but slack side tension. So F1 and F2 are nothing but tensions, is equal to e to the power mu theta. So F1 by F2 you can find out, that is equal to e to the power mu is not given, means always assume 0.3 into angle is given, that is 225. So always you have to convert into radian, therefore 225 into pi by 180. So you will get this value becomes 3.25. Now we have to make one more equation, because torque we know, so anyhow we have to find out value of F1 and F2. So F1 is 3.25 into F2, and consider this as equation number 1. So now another equation, for the belt drives, whatever the torque should be force into radius. So torque equal to force into radius of the drum. So therefore you have to find out T equal to F1 minus F2. F1 is nothing but tight side tension, F2 is nothing but slack side tension, into radius of the drum. So that you have to substitute. The diameter is given, diameter of the rotating drum is 600, so radius is 300. So now again you have to make one more equation, that is F1 minus F2, you will get 663.2. So now you have to you have two equation number 1 and equation number 2. So in 1 and 2 the two unknowns are there, that is F1 and F2. So with the help of two equation, two unknown, you can solve this equation. So either you can substitute F1 value here, so that you will get F2 value. So anyhow you have to find out F1 and F2 value. So after solving these two equation number 1 and 2, you will get F2 value as 295 Newton and F1 value as 958.72 Newton. So always F1 value should get more than F2, because a tight side tension should be always greater than slack side tension. So this is the first unknown you have to find out, that is ratio uh, of tension, that is F1 by F2, or you need to find out F1 and F2. Now operating force, they have not mentioned which direction, so assuming clockwise rotation, so that is from equation number 13.919C 13.19C by referring figure E, that is page number 270. So you can find this equation. For clockwise rotation, the operating force is equal to Ft into B divided by A into 1 divided by e to the power mu theta minus 1. So Ft is nothing but tangential force, that also you have to find out. So first you can substitute here with the help of this equation, that is B into F2 divided by A. So F equal to value of B is 400 and F2 value we just now calculated, that is 295 Newton, and A. So A is nothing but, you just check your whatever the problems with the referring figure A in page number 270. So A is nothing but the length of the lever, so 1 meter long. 1 meter long means 1000 millimeter, and B is nothing but that distance from the fulcrum, so that also given 400 millimeter. So therefore the whatever the operating force, you will get the force at the end of brake handle. So you can see in the diagram, at the end of the lever, whatever the force you want to apply, that is the value of F, so that you will get here, that is after substitution the F value will be 118 Newton. So F value will be 118 Newton. So this is the operating force for clockwise rotation. Similarly, you can find for counterclockwise rotation. Next equation you have to use, that is 13.19 D. So there F equal to B into F1 divided by A. So that is you have to substitute F1 value is nothing but tight side tension. So therefore operating force at the end of the lever is 400 into 958.72 divided by 1000. You will get 383.45 Newton. Now we have to design the design of brake lever. The considering the lever as cantilever beam. So cantilever beam you have to consider for design purpose, that is one end is fixed, another end is you are going to apply load. So that is you can see in the diagram, because the whatever the fulcrum point, so that is acting as a fixed point, and at the end of the lever you are going to apply uh, force, that is nothing but operating force. Therefore the whatever the lever, brake lever, act as a cantilever beam. For cantilever beam, the moment can be calculated as the whatever the maximum force into the length of the lever. So therefore moment is F max into A. So therefore, so the maximum force F max we have to consider between these two value of F, that is one for clockwise and another for anti-clockwise. So in previous slide we got F value as we got F value as 118. So for clockwise rotation, that is operating force. Similarly we got for counterclockwise, value will be 383. So out of this 118 and 383.45, so the maximum value of operating force when it is rotates in counterclockwise rotation. So therefore F max you have to consider as this one, 383.45. So based on this we have to design the lever. Therefore M equal to F max into A. So A is nothing but length of the lever, because if you consider cantilever beam, the total length of the lever is nothing but the total length of the cantilever beam. Therefore A is nothing but length of the cantilever beam. So that is 1000 millimeter, and the maximum force F max is 383.45. So if you multiply this, you will get bending moment. So that will be 383.045 into 10 to the power 3 Newton millimeter. So now we have to design for you need to find out bending stress. Allowable bending stress is given for the lever material. So material is maybe steel. So if not given some of the problem, so you have to assume based on condition, that is the material is steel, and bending stress is given by sigma b equal to m by I into c. So I you know, because rectangular cross section moment of inertia will be bh cube by 12. If it is circular cross section, then it will be pi d to the power 4 divided by 64. Hence it is a rectangular cross section, you have to use bh cube divided by 12. But one more condition is given in the problem, the whatever the height of the lever, so that will be 3 times width of the lever. So therefore height h equal to 3 into b. So that you have to adopt in the design. So bending stress is given, that is allowable stress or design stress for the lever. so that is 80 megapascal or 80 Newton per millimeter square. So sometime they will give you in terms of ultimate stress and factor of safety. So then you have to find out allowable stress, that is yield stress or ultimate stress divided by factor of safety. So based on that also you can find out design stress or working stress or allowable stress. Here it is given 80 Newton per millimeter square. Now you have to equate. So M you have to equate. M is nothing but 383. M equal to 383.045 into 10 to the power 3 divided by I is nothing but B into H cube. H you have to write 3 into B cube. 3 into B to the power cube divided by 12 into C. C is nothing but H by 2. So H is nothing but 3 into B divided by 2. So that you have to substitute. So after the only one variable you will get, that is width of the lever. So width of the lever you will get 14.727 millimeters. So nearly you can consider as 15. So B is 15 mm. It means that height will be 45 millimeter. So this is about band brake problem. So next class I will continue with some more problems. Thank you.